Do-it-yourself Easter eggs are one thing. The decorative eggs Elizabeth Palmer is about to show us are something else entirely.
The Fabergé eggs are among the most iconic symbols of imperial opulence, jewels so rare and meticulously crafted that each one seems wrapped in its own legend. Created by master jeweler Peter Carl Fabergé for the Russian royal family between 1885 and 1917, these exquisite objects call to mind a lost world of grandeur, secrecy, and unimaginable wealth. Only 50 of these imperial Easter eggs were ever made, and while most are accounted for in museums or private collections, a handful vanished during the chaos following the Russian Revolution. For decades, these missing eggs have stirred imaginations, launched treasure hunts, and even inspired hoaxes. But now, in one of the most unlikely turns in art history, one of the missing Fabergé masterpieces, the third imperial egg, has resurfaced not in a palace, gallery, or auction house, but in a Midwestern kitchen. A royal creation, then a vanishing act.
A gentleman had it, the most unassuming, modest person you could imagine, and he walked up to my desk, which is in this room, and presented me with a sheaf of photographs in which there were pictures of this, one of the greatest pieces of gold work ever to be created.
The third imperial Fabergé egg was originally presented by Tsar Alexander III to his wife, Tsarina Maria Feodorovna, in 1887. Crafted in secrecy, as was customary with all Fabergé creations, the egg was part of a series of ornate Easter gifts designed not merely as luxury items, but as intimate royal keepsakes. This particular egg stood just over 3 inches tall and was perched on an elaborate gold stand with lion paw feet. 3 sapphire cabochons suspended golden garlands around the delicate structure, and a diamond served as its intricate opening mechanism. Hidden inside was a Vacheron Constantin watch, gold, hinged, and adorned with diamond hands. Each element was a marvel of craftsmanship, a token of affection wrapped in exquisite artistry. Following the 1917 Russian Revolution, the opulence of the Romanovs was stripped away. The Bolsheviks began liquidating the imperial treasury to generate foreign currency for the struggling Soviet state. By 1922, the third imperial egg had disappeared from public view. It was listed for sale, but never reliably tracked afterward, eventually becoming one of 8 missing imperial eggs whose whereabouts were unknown. For decades, Fabergé enthusiasts, historians, and collectors speculated on its fate. It wasn't until 2011 that researchers at Fabergé connected the dots, recognizing the egg in a 1964 auction catalog and publishing articles to reignite the search. The Daily Telegraph's report described a frantic hunt for the priceless relic, breathing new life into a mystery that had confounded art experts for generations. But even then, no one could have guessed where it would ultimately turn up. The egg, once a jewel of Russian aristocracy, had traveled farther and in more bizarre fashion than anyone imagined. From the grandeur of Russian palaces to the dusty corners of small-town America, the egg's journey spanned empires and ideologies. Its survival, even in obscurity, is a story in itself. From junk drawer to jewel box.
To find one of them is the luck of not just one lifetime, but 1,000 lifetimes, and he had found one. These are the things we hunt all day, every day, and to be presented with one was the most sort of spine-tinglingly exciting moment.
The man who stumbled upon the egg had no idea of its staggering value. Hailing from the American Midwest, he made his living scavenging estate sales and rummage markets for objects he could flip for quick cash. At a local sale, he purchased a small golden trinket for $14,000, an expensive gamble, but one he hoped would pay off once the item was melted down. He assumed it was solid gold, banking on its weight to yield enough in raw metal to net a modest profit. His aim was to make around $500. However, when he approached scrap metal buyers, none were willing to offer him that much. His hopes for a return dwindled, and the egg sat idle in his kitchen, relegated to a corner as a failed investment. Then one night, likely out of desperation or sheer boredom, he Googled the engraved name Vacheron Constantin he had spotted on the tiny watch hidden inside. That simple search triggered a revelation. The results brought him face to face with the Telegraph article describing a high-profile global search for the third imperial Fabergé egg. With rising excitement, and probably some disbelief, he realized the ornate piece he'd intended to melt down for scrap was the very object at the center of the mystery. He reached out to Fabergé expert Kieran McCarthy, sending photos of the piece and requesting a meeting. Skeptical but intrigued, McCarthy agreed to take a look. When the man arrived in London, clad in jeans and a flannel shirt, McCarthy was immediately struck by his anxiety. Quote, "His mouth was just dry with fear," McCarthy recalled. The photos he brought left no doubt. Quote, "There was the egg, the holy grail of art and antiques," McCarthy said. Though he hadn't yet handled it, the Fabergé expert could feel the significance radiating from the images. McCarthy soon flew to the man's home in the U.S. to verify the egg's authenticity in person. There, the discovery was confirmed. The long-lost 1887 Easter egg had been hiding in plain sight, nearly relegated to a crucible. A second life for a lost masterpiece. With the egg authenticated, arrangements were made for it to be displayed briefly at a Wartski Jewelers in London. This public viewing marked only the second time the egg had ever been exhibited, the first being in 1902 at a show of the Russian royal family's collection in St. Petersburg. Despite its miniature size, the egg drew crowds eager to witness what was now being called one of the greatest rediscoveries in modern antique history. Though the finder initially remained anonymous, news of his astonishing windfall spread quickly. The estimated value of the egg was placed at around $33 million. The discovery captured imaginations around the world, not just because of the price tag, but because of the sheer improbability of its survival and rediscovery. That a forgotten imperial heirloom could sit unnoticed for decades in the most ordinary of environments made the tale feel more like a fairy tale than a factual event. The craftsmanship itself only heightened the egg's allure. Measuring just 3.2 inches, it was almost deceptively simple at first glance. Yet every detail, from the placement of the sapphires to the concealed Vacheron Constantin timepiece, embodied the excellence that had made Fabergé's name legendary. McCarthy described how the Russian aristocracy was so accustomed to opulence that only the most inventive artistry could impress them. The egg, with its hidden surprise, embodied that expectation. And that's perhaps why this rediscovery mattered so much. It wasn't merely about monetary value or historical significance. It was about the recovery of something exquisitely human, the desire to create beauty simply because it can be done. The mystery of the missing eggs. Of the original 50 imperial Fabergé eggs created, 42 are accounted for in museums and private collections. That still leaves 8 missing, each of them a potential treasure hiding in plain sight. Some, like the third imperial egg, are believed to have been sold off during the post-revolution years, often at absurdly low prices. Others are feared destroyed, casualties of time, war, or neglect. 2 other eggs are still suspected to exist, based on vague mentions in auction catalogs or estate documents. The other 5 are likely lost forever, with no records surviving after the Russian Revolution. But each time one resurfaces, as the third egg did, it breathes new hope into the possibility that more might still be out there. Not all leads pan out. In 2022, a suspected Fabergé egg was found aboard a seized superyacht belonging to Russian oligarch Eduard Kudenitov. The object was examined, only to be declared a forgery. Still, even a false alarm sends a ripple of excitement through the community of Fabergé collectors and historians. The idea that a missing egg could be hiding in someone's home or storage unit is enough to keep the search alive. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think we'll ever find the missing eggs? Let us know in the comments section below.